Let's get right to Senator Ted Cruz, who's with us now here in New York City. I believe you are correct when you said earlier today that a lot of this Muslim violence in Europe is because of their failed immigration policies. As you know, the EU has open borders. Anybody goes where any refugees flooding in. Nobody knows who's coming, who's going.
Right.
We don't have that here in the USA. We have some problems, but not nearly to the extent that they have. Is that right?
Well, you know, when it comes to open borders, a few days ago I was down on the border in Arizona, and I'll tell you, it was a tiny little fence. My 5-year-old daughter could have crossed that border in all of about 10 seconds. Actually, we had a bunch of reporters there. Several of the reporters jumped the fence into Mexico because they had a better shot from their cameras. And I was laughing. We're literally watching them cross the border illegally and enter Mexico. And, you know, we've had 12 million people come into this country illegally. We are not securing the border right now, and at a time with threats from ISIS and radical Islamic terrorism, it makes no sense that we don't know who's coming into this country.
You agree with me and with your competitor Trump that you need a wall. You need a formidable wall.
Absolutely,
right? Okay,
yes.
So we're all on board.
But a wall alone doesn't do it.
No.
More important than that is boots on the ground. That's why we're going to triple the Border Patrol and use fixed-wing and rotary-wing aircraft to monitor the wall. The wall alone slows them down, but you got to have the boots on the ground.
Right, just like the Israelis do. That's the model we should be using. Now, you made some other statements against ISIS today, and one of them caught my eye. You say you would carpet bomb them. You've said that before. You know that carpet bombing means women and children dead in the street. You know that, right?
It doesn't mean that. What I mean by carpet bombing is using overwhelming air power, not doing...
they hide in civilian areas. You know that.
The first Persian Gulf War, we launched roughly 1,100 air attacks a day. We carpet bombed them for 37 days. And then after that, our troops went in and in a day and a half mopped up the Iraqi army.
Were you over there? I was over there. It was a different situation. We degraded Saddam Hussein's military. We didn't bomb Kuwait City. Right. Okay, where he was.
Nobody's talking about bombing civilians, but the difference is right now, we're doing between 15 and 30 air attacks a day. It's pinprick. So what we ought to use is overwhelming air power, carpet bombing to take out their command and control infrastructure, take out their communication, take out their finance, take out their transportation, take out the oil fields, take out...
Still not going to beat them. They're going to hide in the cities.
That's not the only thing. Of course it's not the only thing.
Well, I called earlier in the program here for a NATO declaration of war against ISIS. You would back that, right?
And I absolutely agree. And indeed, I noted this morning, in the wake of this Brussels attack, that it was more than a little ironic that just yesterday, Donald Trump called for America pulling back from NATO, either weakening it or withdrawing.
That's because he doesn't feel they carry their weight financially there. But I think you and Trump and me...
But that would be a catastrophic mistake. I mean, Bill, it's
to withdraw from NATO at this point, it would. But I think...
And that's what Donald called for. He said America needs to step back. And doing that would be a massive victory for Putin and a massive victory for ISIS. And we shouldn't... There's a point that matters here. Donald's approach on foreign policy is one of weakness and isolationism. That's his position consistently across the globe.
But see, you put me in a difficult position because I'm not going to defend Trump, but I will say that we're trying to get him on tomorrow.
But I've got an idea.
What?
Why don't you ask Donald Trump to come here and defend himself? Donald is afraid to debate.
Debate you one-on-one.
I would love to do a one-on-one debate. Bill, you can moderate. He wouldn't argue that you're an unfair moderator.
Yes,
so I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have you moderate. But Donald,
we're going to work that.
And NATO's a good example.
We'll work
where he throws out a foreign policy position that is weaker and more liberal than Obama's and Hillary Clinton's. And then he doesn't get challenged on it because he's afraid to have a debate.
Let's talk about you. But I will follow up on that debate offer, and I appreciate you making it.
I think it'd be terrific.
You're also taking heat because you said U.S. law enforcement should patrol in America Muslim neighborhoods. That's not going to do any good.
What I said is we should use law enforcement to prevent radicalization and to target radical Islamic terrorism. This president, President Obama,
but how do you do that specifically?
So, for example, here in New York City, Mayor Bloomberg created a program that worked cooperatively with the Muslim community to target radical Islamic terrorism, prevent radicalization, and stop terror attacks, stop terror cells.
He watched certain mosques.
And
de Blasio has done away with that.
De Blasio ended it because of political correctness.
Of course.
And it's the same silliness that Obama and Hillary do where in the wake of these terror attacks, they don't say the words radical Islamic terrorism. And even worse, predictably, President Obama goes on TV and lectures Americans on Islamophobia. Enough already. We need a president who makes clear to the world, if you are a radical Islamic terrorist, if you're a jihadist, your day of reckoning is coming. And on January 20th, 2017, the world will change. We will come after you, and we're not coming after you to negotiate, to compromise, to capture you. If you've declared jihad in America, we are coming after you to kill you.
Okay. Let's just recap this segment so everybody's clear, all right? You don't believe in carpet bombing cities where ISIS is for the civilian casualties. You're not going to do that.
You target civilians, but at the same time, you don't use rules of engagement that make it impossible for our troops
you step up
to win.
You step up the bombing. You would encourage NATO to declare war on ISIS.
Absolutely.
And have all of that power then launched against these savages. You want increased law enforcement surveillance here in the United States on radical Muslim concerns. Would that be fair?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you are for a very stringent border with more backup.
Yes.
To keep the... all right?
All exactly right. And we shouldn't be allowing in tens of thousands of Syrian Muslim refugees that ISIS has said they want to infiltrate and send jihadists to murder us. Sure, that's what's happened
in Europe. I mean, it's obvious that's happening there. All right, now we're going to hold you over to talk about the political thing. We have 2 votes tonight in Arizona and Utah. The Senator's kind enough to stay over. Continuing now with Senator Cruz. So, it looks like you'll win Utah today.
I hope so.
Right? And you'll lose Arizona.
Well, we'll see on that.
I'm just saying what it looks like. Exit polling, regular polling, all of that. That's what it looks like. But that's a wash, right? It's a wash. You're still going to be a little bit behind Donald Trump in delegate counts. Right. So what's your strategy? Do you think you can overtake him in delegates?
I do, and this is very much a delegate battle to get to 1237.
Right.
I'm the only candidate that can beat Donald Trump and win the Republican nomination that can get to 1237.
You'd have to win California pretty decisively.
Which I believe we're going to do.
Polls have you behind now.
Well, the last field poll that was done several weeks ago had us in first place in California.
Yeah, the more recent polls, you're behind. Not far, but
head-to-head.
Right.
Head-to-head, consistently polling has shown us up Donald Trump as much as 13, 14 points.
Kasich's not going to get out.
Look, not necessarily, Bill. I agree Kasich wants to stick around, but it's mathematically impossible.
It is. He can't, but he wants to be in the convention conversation.
But here's the dynamic that's going to happen. Kasich is going to lose in Utah tonight. He's going to lose in Arizona.
Right.
In 2 weeks, he's going to lose in Wisconsin. He went 0 for 27. He won his home state, and then he's going to proceed to lose a series of states.
You think John's going to get out?
I think when you start losing and losing and losing, your money dries. People run out of money, they drop out. So John wants to stick around, and he's a good man.
Yeah, that would help.
But at this point, what he's doing doesn't make any sense unless he's auditioning to be Trump's vice president, because he can only be a spoiler. I'll give you an example. Illinois. We would have won Illinois without John Kasich. Trump had 38% in Illinois. I had 30%. Kasich had 19.
But you're assuming all the Kasich voters would have gone to you.
No, I'm assuming the majority of them would, and that's what the polling shows consistently, is that the majority of them come to us. And Trump's got a hard ceiling of 35 to 40% that he's had a real difficulty breaking. It's why head-to-head, where you've got to get to 51% or 50.1% to win, Trump is in real trouble.
But the CBS poll out today says Trump crushes you. He's got 46, you've got like 28. This is a national poll.
But national polls, at the end of the day, Trump is still running into a hard ceiling. I mean, take Illinois. Illinois is a blue state.
Yeah.
And he only got 38%.
But I don't think you can discount that national poll. I mean, that gives him some solace. Now, here in New York, Trump will win.
I don't agree with that at all.
He's up by 40.
That poll also showed Trump up in Texas. That poll is not a reliable poll at all.
If you could beat Donald Trump in his home state, everything turns around.
Look, New Yorkers know Donald Trump. New Yorkers know Donald Trump, which is a real advantage. You'd be surprised. And one of the things about New York, the way New York is, it is by congressional district. There are a lot of conservatives in this state who want a real conservative. And you know what? The people of New York have suffered under failed liberal Democratic policies for decades, and Donald Trump has funded just about every one of those liberal Democrats
you can beat him
foisting those policies.
That's a game changer for everything. If you can beat him
for example, we were talking in the previous segment about Mayor Bill de Blasio's dissolving the unit that was targeting radical Islamic terrorism. Bill de Blasio was supported by Donald Trump. He's He's funded the liberal Democrats who have hurt the people of New York.
But Trump, he supported Giuliani. He does that because he wants zoning variances. Come on, you know that.
But that's not why he supported Jimmy Carter. It's not why he supported John Kerry. It's not why he supported Hillary Clinton for president.
That's why all these businessmen do what they do. They spread the green around.
But Bill, that's
one more. I got to ask you a personal
question. You're telling me no one can do business unless you support federal Democratic candidates.
At that time in his life, Donald Trump couldn't care less if Mickey Mouse were president. All right, as long as he got to build his buildings.
It was just a couple of years ago that Donald Trump wrote two checks to Hillary Clinton's presidential race.
All right.
And you know what? When you support open border Democrats for 40 years,
I got it, Senator.
You bear responsibility
Trump
for the policies
owed Hillary for giving him nice wedding gifts. Now, do you get mad? And you got to tell me the truth, because I would. When Trump turns and goes, "Lying Ted," I mean, I don't know if I could stand there and.
Listen, Donald is a very simple man to understand. He gets rattled when he's beat, and when he's scared, he begins yelling, he begins insulting you, he begins cursing. The more upset Donald gets, listen, we've beaten Donald in 9 different states.
Do you get upset when he calls you a liar?
No, because that's who Donald is.
So you don't take it serious.
And the bizarre thing, Bill, about Donald, he can say one thing at 8 o'clock in the morning, something completely different at noon, and then at 3 o'clock, when you point out what he said at 8 a.m., he screams, "Liar, liar, liar." You can literally quote him.
All right.
And the bizarre thing about Donald is at each stage, I'm convinced if he took a lie detector test, he believes what he's saying, and when he says the exact opposite 3 hours later, he believes it then also. But when it comes to defending this country, for example, on foreign policy, Trump has said he wants to be neutral between Israel and the Palestinians.
Let me recap.
We need a president who wants to be Islamic terrorist.
You want to debate Trump here with me as a moderator.
Absolutely.
We're going to work on that, okay? You think you're going to beat him in California and New York, and if that happens, that's a game changer. And I'm going to invite Mr. Trump on tomorrow because that's fair. And that's fair, right?
And one of the points about California and New York, both of them are by congressional districts. So what's likely is we'll both get delegates from both of those states. But I think we will do very well in both New York and California, especially if we're head-to-head, if Kasich is no longer playing spoiler.
It's a good race. It's a good race. And we appreciate you taking the time to come in on a very busy day, Senator. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Bill. It's great to be with you.
Thank you.